my spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Dairyland Frights, the paranormal podcast that covers everything spooky, creepy, and mysterious in the Midwest and beyond. And today, I am super excited because I got what I call people from my state of Wisconsin, Parasconis, who are into the paranormal and love talking about the paranormal. And I have Blaine and Taylor from Ghost and Us podcast. Yay, welcome. And like I said, we are from Wisconsin. I've interviewed from people in Wisconsin, and what I love about people from Wisconsin is that we have such a weird conglomerate of like haunted stories, paranormal stories, cryptids, mysteries. And, it's funny because I just had on the podcast one of my favorite states and cities to visit in the paranormal, Savannah, Georgia. And like literally everything is haunted there. But one thing we talked about is in Wisconsin, you could be sleeping on an Indian burial ground and probably don't know it, right?
Yeah.
Dude, Wisconsin's got everything.
Right. Like effigy mounds. Like literally there are places all over Wisconsin where you probably can go camping and then don't realize you're sleeping on the bones of Indian, Native American ancestors, and you're probably going to get cursed, but that's okay.
As long as you enjoy your camping.
Exactly. If you bring a demon home, what's the big deal, right, guys? I mean, come on.
I deal with demons every day as soon as I'm about to use the bathroom. So,
well, those are different. The demons.
So, those are the inner demons.
Why don't you guys introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah. You want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm Blaine. I don't know if that was obvious or not. I mean, Blaine could be a girl's name too. I don't know.
Taylor could be a boy's name.
Well, I'm Blaine, and Taylor and I have been best friends since we were in 5th grade, and we've known each other for almost 18 years now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, we just like to have fun, talk ghosts, talk spooky things. I'm trying not to ramble, to be honest with you, but like, we just like to talk about spooky stuff, and we like to hear other people's spooky stuff. And that was the basis of why I started the podcast for us, was I like hearing people's ghost stories. And that's what it originally started as throughout our first season. And it was just me and one person, and we would just sit down. They would tell me their story. That it's meant to be a safe space for people. Like, I don't want people to come in and feel like what they're telling me and go, oh my gosh, you probably think I'm crazy. No, like, this is a space where I want you to feel free to be open. You can be as open as you want. You can be as closed off as you want. Yeah. But that's why I originally started the podcast. But we are mainly paranormal ghost hunters.
Yeah.
Before we are podcasters. We like shooting. We do episodic ghost hunts, and I have way more fun putting those together because I can show off a more, fun, talented editing ability than the podcast is meant for us to be a fun, easy content to make.
Except when I'm trying to say names.
Yeah.
I suck at saying names so much.
That's Taylor.
Are you a mush mouth like I am, Taylor? Where you're just like, blah, 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 blah. I can't say it.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'll sit there and I'll struggle and I'll try to like say it a couple times, and then I'll look at Blaine and he'll be like, Taylor, this is how you say it. And I'll try again and I'm like, nope, doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, we just did an episode. We actually, before being on here, we did an episode, a game show style episode, and one of the questions Taylor posed to me is what is a Pontiac?
It's a Pontinent.
Yeah, that exactly. This is what I deal with every time we do an episode. Is this
Blaine? I feel for you.
No better.
Okay.
I just act like an asshole, although I probably am one. No, I'm just like, no, it's like when she'll say a name, like we were talking about Patty Negri in one of them, and you had mispronounced Negri's last name, and I was like, no, it's Patty Negri, and she's like, okay, and then we just like continued on.
Yeah.
But like that ghost, I couldn't tell you what that was either. I guess
I just kept saying Pontiac, not the car,
and the very end, and then we called it a day.
Love it. I love it. So Taylor, how about you? Kind of the same thing, I'm guessing, like paranormal and.
Yeah, we actually started doing like our investigations because like I invited Blaine to go do this asylum tour, which now he gets to like participate and volunteer and lead these tours.
Nice.
But I invited him to go with us to check it out. And after that, he was like, oh my God, Taylor, I love ghost hunting. And then we started and it was amazing.
Yeah, we, right before the pandemic, you and your husband were doing an anniversary thing. We went to the Door County Trolley Tour.
Oh yeah, that was horrible.
Right? I love that tour. Yeah.
You know? Oh,
Yeah,
we are not the same. We are not the
Oh,
same.
really? Okay.
Oh my gosh, they handed out a photograph. They handed out a photograph in ours. Maybe it was just our group. I don't know. But our guide was super nice. He was very energetic. That is not what I'm faulting here. What I'm faulting is handing out a photograph of a shadow from a mannequin and posing it off as a ghost.
Yeah. But I mean, so that was the beginning of the tour. So that just kind of like
set the tone.
Yeah, it really ruined the rest of it for us. But like the stories they were saying and like history and like lore, that's cool. But just that photo really messed it up.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, because see, we got a really nice older gentleman and I actually had him on the podcast last year, and like he knew everything backwards and forwards, and he was not like trying to like he didn't show that shadow thing. That's kind of weird. He didn't really show anything other than he sent me pictures after the interview and of some could be a ghost in a window, could be whatever. But I put on my Instagram some interesting pictures that he sent me that people took during the tour, and interesting, kind of it gives you pause to see what it could be. One was like a mist, and one was like looked like a little boy looking out of a window, like from like 1800s.
Our guide, and I do not fault him at all. He was very energetic. He was super, like, he seemed really nice. It was, he handed out the photo to the group and we were passing it along. We were at one of the, I don't remember which house we were at.
It was at like a little small house that was like surrounded by other
bunch of bars and stuff on one of the main streets. But he had passed it around, and I looked at Taylor. I was like, I'm going to ask him this because this seems really weird. And I didn't want to like be rude about it, obviously, because like that's not cool. So I'm looking, and I was like, I asked him which one of the figures that we're looking at in this photo, and he pointed to it, and I was like, you can see the line of which, like, here's the mannequin. You can see the line from the shadow where the light would hit it, and then it would like go against the wall here. And I'm like, I think I just debunked this. I don't know. Like, I felt really bad. I was like, what do I do? Like, do I say something? Do I not? I don't know. I don't think I did.
Oh.
Because I was just like, oh, this really... But I will say the history and everything else was very cool. I do not want to fault that. I wasn't a fan of the fun.
Yeah. And I've been on, let me see, about 15 ghost tours all over the country. Some are done really well, and some are done like by a teenager who's just got his adult voice. Hi, today we're going to look at ghosts. And you're like, stop it. Just, I paid $35 for this. You know what I mean? And you're like, I paid $35. No, that was, let me see. That one was in Texas. I believe in Houston. They had this teenager driving us around in a van, and it was sketchy from the start.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, we're all looking at each other like, are we being kidnapped? Are they going to harvest our organs? Like, what is? It was bad. It was bad. It was bad.
The reason why I wanted to do the Door County ghost tour thing was because a year or two before that, my husband and I did a ghost tour in the Dells, and it was amazing. We loved it. And I was like, we got to do more. These will all be great. And then there was that one.
Yeah, it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss. Go ahead.
No, it was just that photo when having like seen it in person on the tour and him like being super like adamant about it. I'm just like,
Well, and then standing and looking in the building where the photo was.
Yeah, like you can like we were able to walk up to the window and look. I was like, right there's the mannequin. See how like it's the same lights hitting this thing. I'm like, man, that sucks.
That's awesome. So tell me, I'll start with you, Taylor. Tell me about your first paranormal experience.
You got a few.
Ooh. Okay. Well,
Wow, we got
I'm trying to think. Ooh.
She's had more than I have.
It's been pretty much my whole life.
Okay, go ahead.
So the one that I can remember the most, when I was younger, I was like 7 or 8 maybe. There was always like this little boy spirit that I would see outside of the house. He would never come in the house, but he would always sit outside where I could go to any window and I'd see him like just whoop, like getting like my vision. And I called him Dingo. I don't know why that's the name I gave him, but yeah, he never came inside, but he would follow me other places and he would go inside the buildings of other places, just not in my house. And my mom, when she passed away, I stopped seeing him. And then my family was telling me that my mom used to have a little boy spirit follow her around. So we're just kind of like assuming, okay, he's gone because my mom is gone. And like, yeah, otherwise the only other experience I could remember of being like a little kid is like talking to a clown in a corner. That's about it.
Okay, let's go on that one. A clown, like a doll, or like
you've opened up the worms.
My parents were always terrified of just like seeing me in a corner, and I'm just like, I'm talking to my friend, and they're like, well, what does your friend look like? And I'm like, he has crazy hair, and it's like a clown, and they're like, no, they hated that, and I would just do that all the time.
And then your head spins around. Yes, mother. And then you just float above the covers. Hello, mother.
Oh my goodness.
And then you vomit.
God, that'd be awesome. Please do that. Please do that.
I mean, I've had some like super crazy.
Yeah, if you're gonna do that now, do it on this podcast. He would really like that.
I've had some like super crazy experiences where like I've had mirrors shatter on me out of nowhere. I would be super emotional and like just have so much like sadness and anger and all that, and I'd be crying, and all of a sudden like I had a body mirror explode on me from behind. And then there was another time where I just watched it and it just...
Okay, Blaine, are you okay with that?
Why wouldn't I be? I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't.
Check it.
We've been investigating for the last 4 years. If I wasn't okay with it, I probably wouldn't be doing this.
That's all right. And mirrors, do you mean like in your house? Or
yeah, in my house. Just like 2 body mirrors. Just exploded on me.
Hang on. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. Do you mean like shatter, like just shatter and like kind of fall apart, or like shatter, like turn into little pieces and, you know?
It would like shatter as if someone like took a nail and it would like break and then pieces would fall. So it wasn't like explosive like glass dust or anything. It was chunks of mirror that would just fall.
Yeah.
It's like if you took a hammer to it and you just...
Yeah.
And this is when you were emotional.
Yeah.
Correct?
So the first time was like, I was really emotional because it was my first time moving out of my dad's and like just becoming an adult. And I don't know, I was just really beat up about it. And the mirror was behind me and it just shattered all over. And I was like, well, what the heck? And then years later, it was like a breakup. But it was like a really, really toxic relationship. Yeah. And I was sitting on the bed and the mirror was like 8-10 feet away from me in front of me. And I was just broken down, crying so hard. And then I just saw it go. And yeah.
That's interesting. I have not heard that before.
Those were the only 2 times I've had something like that happen. Because thank God I don't get that emotional anymore.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Any shadow people associated with that? Any shadows? Did you see anything like that?
At those times, no, I didn't see. It was only when I was really just beat up. However, during those times when during that time period of that stuff happening, and I would visit my dad and stay the night or something, he's like, Taylor, I can't sleep when you're like this, because he would say like he felt something in his bedroom as I'm like crying in a different room or whatever. And yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
That's all I have for that.
That's something. So I've interviewed a number of, whether you believe it or not, they're fascinating people, mediums, psychic empaths, stuff like that, who could probably, there is one woman I'm going to be interviewing next week who can basically look at you and tell you, like, if you have demons, evil spirits, stuff like that. And she can tell you, like, by looking at you. And I think that's fascinating. And maybe I should have you back on the show and ever look at you and probably scream. No, I'm just kidding.
Jeez.
That's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. I got Blaine. Can you top it?
No, I cannot.
What's your first paranormal experience?
So
yeah, come on.
I grew up as an only child. I mean, my house was. I would never say my house was haunted. The only thing that I can't explain, like thinking back on it, is I would be in my bedroom sleeping. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would hear like talking through the wall, because my bedroom's on the opposite side of what my parents' living room is.
Yeah.
And I can only explain, like, it just sounds like mumbling. I can hear tone, I can hear like that, but I couldn't make out what it was saying. But when you would focus on it and you try to like really listen to it, it would stop. So I don't know if maybe it's just like me, my brain just being weird. I don't know. I can't explain it. I didn't have a paranormal experience until we started doing this. I was just really fascinated by ghosts. And I'm like, I mean, there's got to be something. Like, too many people have had an experience to not say there's anything, in my opinion. But I didn't have an experience until it was right after we had done a private location and we had come back. I was getting up for work on a Monday and I was working 10-hour shifts. It's 4:30 in the morning. I go to my bathroom and as soon as I walk into the threshold of my bathroom, I see a shadow figure walk in the mirror. That's above, like, it's a medicine cabinet mirror. I saw it walk through there towards my shower. And I thought, wow, my eyes are playing tricks on me. It's got to be my shadow. Like, that's the only explanation I could think of. Like, the medicine cabinet is open, whatever, I'm tired. And I went about my day, but I couldn't stop thinking about it all day until I went home after work. I stood in the threshold of the bathroom again in daylight, and I couldn't recreate it. And I'm like, okay, the medicine cabinet must have been open. I went to go open it, and it opens this way. And if I would have seen it, it would have had to have opened the opposite way.
Yeah.
So I can't explain that. To me, I saw a shadow person in my bathroom. And since I've moved into this space, this office that we're in right now, this little area, it's in my apartment. I've actually got 2 objects that allegedly have an attachment to it. And when I first moved in, I was seeing figures walking around here all the time.
Wow.
To the point where if I'm coming in here, I'll say, hey guys, I'm going to be in here for a little while. I'm going to work on some stuff. And then I go about my business. I'm sitting in this office chair right now. I'm looking out the door, which is like right over here in front of me. And I happen to look up and I see someone walking in my kitchen. Like I'll see things all the time here, but it doesn't bug me. Like I don't feel any sense of,
it's just roommates,
anxiety or things like that. I don't feel anything negative or bad. So I just kind of like, all right, you're here. Cool. And then when I leave out of the office, I'm like, all right, guys, have a good night. And I'll shut the door and I'll be like, that's it. I'll hear weird noises at night, but that's it.
Interesting. That's interesting that you don't feel dread or anything like that, correct? You don't feel...
The objects that I have, one could be said maybe for the helmet that I have. I have a fire helmet. Taylor, are you able to grab that maybe? Because I don't know where it is. I'm over here. I can't see. We have this room pretty dark right now. I have a chair that I got from my grandmother. Yeah. And I thought it was my great aunt's before she had died. It turns out it was one of her neighbors who had passed away in the chair. And I've gotten some weird spirit box answers on it, and take it or leave it with what you will, but I've used an SLS camera and I've gotten a stick figure that like fell out of the chair. And it was on the floor and it was crawling. Wow. And I said, get back in the chair, and it got back in the chair and it disappeared.
Yeah.
Wow. And I have that on footage. It's actually on our TikTok page. But this helmet I actually got for helping out with the Fox Valley Ghost Hunters before we really got started. And they had never done a private location before, so I was helping him out. This guy who owned this, he said that he bought and sold storage units. And he was telling us that he got a weird vibe off of this fireman's helmet. He tried looking up the info on it, and I've even tried looking it up, and I've never been able to find anything on it. I thought at first it was like a costume helmet, but it's like actual like fireman quality. Right. Like this is what you would wear. And As soon as he was telling us about it, goosebumps shot up both of his arms as he was holding it. And then at the end of the night, we were investigating his place because he's got a grandchild who was living with him, and he wanted to make sure that the kid was going to be all right. And of course, you want to take that precaution. Mm-hmm. But we did an Estes session with this outside, and take that for what you will. I enjoy doing the Estes method. The questions that were asked by my friends who are part of Fox Valley said, what's in front of Blaine? What's the object? And what do you want us to do with it? And my answers were in succession. What's in front of Blaine? An object. What's the object? Helmet. What do you want us to do with the helmet? Take it away. And at the end of the night, we told him that, and he goes, all right, what do you want to do with the helmet? And I was like, I guess I'm stuck with it now. But but it's been here, and I don't get the same feeling from it. So, but that's why I say it's allegedly.
Yeah. Because it's whatever imprinted upon an object, because, again, energy just doesn't go away. It will imprint on various things, negative or positive. I do not like cursed dolls. They freak me out. So I will never have a cursed object in this house, but I think it'd be interesting.
I have two dolls for sure that have something, and then my little knickknacks.
I wouldn't say they're cursed, though.
Oh, no, not cursed. Just they have something with them.
Yeah.
They're my children.
Boy. Thanks a lot. They just, how
can
you keep them? How can you keep them? They just freak me out. Like, you have no problem?
So, funny story. I'm also terrified of dolls.
But she loves buying them.
But I really like these. I just look at them and I'm like, I feel something with you. And then I have them.
Okay.
Yeah, so you go to an antique or to like thrift.
Yeah, I find a doll each time. Try to.
She has so many. And she goes, I hate dolls.
Yeah. They're just so freaky. Anyway. Tell me about you guys' favorite investigation so far that you've gone on, and where was it?
It keeps changing. For me,
Recency bias.
Okay.
We just started a new show on a streaming service that we're in the middle of filming it and editing it.
Nice.
We went to the Pine Lawn Manor in Sumner, Illinois.
Terrifying.
We didn't even investigate the actual Pine Lawn Manor building. We only were in the Sumner Rehab and Care Center.
And called it quits.
That place has some... I don't want to curse on your show. That place has got some
go
dark...
ahead. You can curse on my show.
That place has got some dark shit, man.
Very bad juju.
That place,
some parts.
That place has stories of sexual assault,
neglect,
death, malpractice. That place, you think anything bad about that place, they probably have done it. That place is dark. We were talking with the owner. He was showing us around, and we only made it through the rehab and care center. We
got to. Well, I don't know about Blaine. I think he was just trying to feel
on to the next building. We were just. I didn't want to force you to do something you didn't want to do because I could tell we were both getting on edge.
I was so scared where I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
It was to the point we thought somebody had broke in. The owner was going to come over to the rehab and care center, and he was going to bring us over to the Pine Lawn Manor building itself because we were going to do a challenge where one of us is strapped to a wheelchair, and it's in the most haunted wing of this building where like a lady was doing witchcraft and like sacrificing cats and shit.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So it was gonna be that challenge, and Taylor was not okay with it. And I had done the other challenge in the rehab center, and we didn't get anything really. We got one voice through Spirit Box, but we didn't get anything there. So I was like, I'll do the other one. I'll just take care of it. Well, we're reviewing the footage to show the owner a thing that we heard that we couldn't explain. So we're looking for the footage, and I didn't have a single camera rolling, and I kicked myself in the ass every day since because I'm like, why didn't I have one going?
What we heard was like some kind of furniture, like heavy, something moving.
It sounded like someone had a big ass desk, and just like you heard it scuff the floor of like someone was pushing a desk. We heard that loud, and we were like, what the hell? So we literally were walking up and down the building, and Taylor had saw a shadow figure walk into a room, and it was solid enough.
It was not a shadow. It was an apparition for sure.
Black figure It was solid.
It was solid.
She said we thought somebody broke in. So I handed her my camera and I grabbed a broom and I was like, I saw red and I was whacking I was opening every door. I'm
and
like
swinging this broom.
I'm cracking the broom on the floor, man. Like I've never been so defensive about something in my life. That freaked me out. It was scary, man.
Wow. And so, see, that's fascinating to me because I've never really been on a paranormal investigation. I've been in a shut-in in Chicago. There's this haunted theater, and you basically go around with a paranormal investigator, and you just kind of look around and stuff. But during that time, someone saw a child with black eyes just appear out of nowhere because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I know how this is the only time I could feel what you guys have felt and other paranormal investigators felt. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. And we were just sitting around. It was quiet, like, deathly quiet. And all of a sudden we just heard this blood-curdling scream from this woman. And everybody's like, ah! And we all go running over there. And she's shaking, just trembling. And she said this ghost of this, she saw a little girl. And she was like, why is a little girl in here? Like, why would someone bring that person in here? Like, that's just really kind of shitty parenting, you know what I mean? And then the girl turned around. She's wearing like one of those 1800s like frilly little dress, and she opened her eyes and they were completely black, and she just lost it, and we had to stop it. And the paranormal investigator had to like, okay, let's stop. Let's everybody stop. And they, I was just like, man, I didn't see it, but just hearing that, I can't even imagine you guys hearing a table or seeing an apparition. I mean, and not running for your life. I mean, geez, you're braver than me.
I was running. I was going to run for my life.
You were frozen.
The only other time, like, I've never, like, there was a time where I saw, like, a black orb or, like, a black ball in person. And it, like, just formed in front of me and then shot up the stairs. Like, I wasn't scared of that. I was really confused. And at that investigation, you were terrified.
I was so scared. I got challenged by a buddy of mine so we went to a Mason Lodge in Illinois, and I had gotten issued a challenge by a buddy of mine who does some ghost hunting YouTube videos, and he goes, dude, stay down in the basement. Something's trying to talk to you there, because I was telling him about some other stuff, and he goes, dude, try and figure out what that is. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Well, I have a portal box going, and it's what that is. It's just like a modified speaker, and you hook it up to a spirit box, and it's supposed to filter out that white noise that's generated.
It almost sounds like someone is talking in a toilet. It echoes.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like a watery effect. You can take the reverb off, but it sounds better with the reverb, which whatever. But I'm sitting in there, and all of a sudden, I'm not getting voices. I'm getting like shouts of like,
yeah, it's freaking me out.
It's freaking me out. And on camera, I had it pointed in this little room in this basement where I'm doing this, and I got scared. A shadow figure is poking out from the wall.
Ooh. And then right back.
And like goes back, like it pokes out from the wall. You can make out like an arm and a head. It goes out and then back into the wall. But what's weird is that it's from the wall. It's not from the room itself, because the wall is solid to the staircase that's right outside of the room. So it came through the wall and back. And I'm like, what the hell? But can I tell you a story about black-eyed children? Because I had my own experience with one of those.
Let's go. Love it.
So, like Taylor said before, I help out. I do volunteer guided investigations for the Sheboygan Asylum. And I also help out with the Glen Beulah School that's in Glen Beulah, Wisconsin. I'm there with a buddy of mine. His name's Preston. We had just finished guides, and we were locking everything up, and we left. We were out in the parking lot. I said, have a good night, man. Like, I'll talk to you later. I backed up, and as I backed up, the door that we just come from, there's a little boy standing on the stairs, perfect view of this window, and he has 2 black eyes.
You never told me that.
I thought I did. Yeah, I saw this little boy, and he was wearing like a white shirt and overalls, and he's got 2 black eyes. Like, that's all I could see, and he's got like a bowl cut. And I'm like, I pulled back in. I was like, dude, you'll never guess what I just saw. And I told him, and he goes, that's fucking scary. And then we left.
Yeah.
And then we went home.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I did a little research on black-eyed children, and it's really hard to find I don't know, credible stuff. There's stories out there where people have invited them in and all these terrible things have happened. Is your guys, what is your theory about them? Aliens, demons, ghosts?
You know what? We actually wanted to do an episode sometime about it.
Doing that topic, yeah.
Yeah, please do.
I don't think they're demons.
So, like, the little things that I know about black-eyed children, like, I remember hearing, like, stories of, like, they would come up to people's doors or, like, whatever and be like, can we please come in? Can you please let us in? This and that. But, like, that's all I knew about.
I just don't like saying the word demon anymore because, like, it's so overplayed. Everything's a demon nowadays,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't want to say it's a demon because you're not really letting your guard down if you see a black-eyed kid. Yeah. Like, the goal of a demonic entity posing as a child is to, like, let your guard down, open yourself up to it so it can try and eventually possess you.
Right.
Like, that's the lore of it, at least to my knowledge. If I'm wrong, someone can correct me. I'm sure you probably could too.
Yeah.
But, like, if you see a solid little kid with two black eyes for hole, like, on its face, your first reaction is, let me help you. Your first reaction is, shit! Like, get the fuck out.
Yeah. The famous story, if you guys do this is a well-known one, once you start doing research on it, is a guy in Texas was, of all things, just paying his bills, just going out running errands, and he's about to get out of his car, and, like, right here, like, you know, like we said, oh shit, is a black-eyed children, like right next to his car window. He has a hood, you can see the black eyes, and he's like, Jesus, you know, like that, you know. And then the guy's like talking to the kid, and the kid's like talking in a very monotone and saying, we want to go see the movie. And at first the guy was like, okay, where's your parents? We want to go see the movie. And the kid was talking about stuff that was from like years ago. And he was like, okay, all right. And he just, you know, drove out of there and stuff. But it was just, the kid was just, and then another story is a couple, it's supposedly in Sweden or somebody like that, let the kids in.
I've heard the car.
Yeah. Let the kids in, and they immediately got sick and nauseous, and you know, couldn't get the kids to leave at first and everything. But it's not like, I had a paranormal investigator on and told me, he goes, if it's that frequent, he goes, if they're more frequent than we think we are, everyone has a camera. Like, literally everybody has a camera on their phone. So why wouldn't you, like, okay, you know? Now, the guy from Texas, this was back, I believe, early 90s, late 80s. So there was no cell phones. But in today's world, ring cam, security cam, camera phone, on and on and on, right? Nobody has seen this. Now, if you put my conspiracy hat on, which I like to put my conspiracy hat on, is people might have just erased it, or just might have been like, no one's going to believe me. I'm deleting this. It's freaking me out. I don't know. Yeah. But it's interesting. It's a fascinating story.
I'd like to challenge that opinion, if you don't mind, because...
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to challenge that, because, like, if somebody's like, if you catch the holy grail of video evidence of this black-eyed kid on, like, your Ring camera or your cell phone, I don't think anybody in their right mind today would delete it. They're going to post that shit,
but then
they're going to try and get famous for 15 minutes.
But they'll get harassed. Yeah, people will be like, oh, that's fake. You're a loser.
Welcome to social media. That's all it is nowadays.
But that might be the reason why they wouldn't want to share it. They're afraid of being harassed and, like, belittled.
I'm sure that some people will do that for sure. But, like, that's I'm gonna put that that's a 1 out of 5 person who's gonna do that. I think 4 out of those 5 are gonna be like, I'm gonna get my 15 minutes of fame and I'm gonna post this shit on, like, TikTok right now.
Yeah.
You know, okay, so, like, you asked if we think they're, like, aliens or demons or this or that. I think, like, as you were telling the stories of, like, black-eyed children and all that, in my head I was thinking, like, maybe these are just, like, children who went through, like, had a very traumatic death or whatever, or, like, just such, like, so much trauma, and they died at a young age, that these are just, like, lost spirits hanging around, and that's just the way that they're portrayed. Just no soul, because you always hear that the eyes are the soul, like, windows to the soul.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. It's like, the majority of ghost stories I hear are, maybe you guys back me up on this because I want to hear your stories too. I don't typically do a lot of like call in with your story or whatever because some of it's, some guy's remembering wrong or it's just it's like, oh, that's it. Like, your rocking chair rocked for 2 seconds and, okay, it's the wind. And what we were talking about earlier before, it's a mannequin. Okay. But one of the stories that I heard I thought was really fascinating was people who have sleep paralysis. That is some scary shit. And if you don't believe me, I highly recommend, and I always forget the stupid name of this documentary, but there's a documentary on it that will scare the ever-living shit out of you. You will not sleep at night when they talk to these people who have had it, where they've seen like these shadows over them, like hovering over them, and they can't move, or shadow people coming in the room. And stories I thought was really interesting.
We had a guest talk about something they're experiencing.
We've actually had 2 guests on our show talk about sleep paralysis.
Isn't that? What did they say? I'm curious. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say one?
You're gonna tell Tony's. I'm gonna tell Kaylee's. So
okay, so the one that I have in my head, she was like a little girl and she used to like sleep in the same bed as her mom. Like she and her sister would take turns or whatever. Yeah. And she was like in the middle of sleep paralysis and she saw like, I believe she said she saw a little kid, but then like behind the kid was this big black figure and it would move towards her bed like stop motion, like just and it opened this cabinet where all of her school supplies were and grabbed these scissors and like ended up above her. And she screamed and screamed and screamed. And then like everyone's like, oh, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And there was nothing there. Well, then like the next morning, she had to go back in that room to get her shoes, which were next to the bed. And she found her school scissors on the floor next to the bed. And like she was so like the way she explained it, I did so bad explaining it, but the way that she explained it, it was terrifying. And I'm just sitting here like, I'm so sorry you experienced that.
That lady's experienced a lot of
oh my gosh, crap, lot.
But no, my friend Kaylee, I had her on the show. Hers wasn't as deep as that. She's seen some stuff while in sleep paralysis, but I think that was about the extent of it. I know she had actually texted me a few days ago asking if we wanted to have her back on because she's had some more since she's lived
that would be so fun.
Since she's lived in New Orleans and has been moved to a different state now. But yeah, we've had a couple people talk about it. I've experienced, I don't think it's sleep paralysis, but you get that feeling where you wanna say something, but you're like too scared. Like when you're a little kid, you're like, you want to call for your mom and dad to come in your room to like turn on the lights because something scared you, but you can't get the noise out. Is that sleep paralysis? I don't know.
Sleep paralysis is like, I mean, you can't move.
Right, you cannot move at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your eyes, I don't think your eyes can move, but you can't move.
I've experienced that here.
Right.
It was that night I told you where I heard 3 knocks come right down my hallway. And
getting closer to your room.
Yeah. I woke up. I don't even know for what reason. I woke up, it was 3:00 in the morning, 3 something. And as soon as I woke up, all I could hear is boom from my living room, boom in my kitchen, boom right outside my bedroom door. And then it stopped. And I just I couldn't move for the life of me. And all I could do is muster up the courage to move a finger to know that I was actually awake and experiencing this.
Yeah. But imagine, I talk to people who've had it for 40 years every night.
Oh, hell, I couldn't live like that.
Yeah. How do you live like that? You can't, but they do.
No, that's crazy.
And, God bless them, because I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. There's no way. So staying with that, what is the scariest story someone has told you or you've heard from someone?
Kurt's
is pretty scary, yeah.
He was he saw this figure with a broken back crawling or something, but it was kind of him in an older sense.
Yeah, my friend Kurt, we had him on the show in the earlier episodes, and he was telling us about how he had moved into an apartment in Manitowoc, and he had experienced this weird figure come out of his bathroom. It was where he could explain it. It was a flannel button down, and It had really long hair covering its face.
And its back was broken.
Yeah, it was like crawling with like a weird like shape crawling out of his bathroom, and he got pretty freaked out by it. And he hadn't owned it at the time, but a while, like a couple years or so later, months, whatever it was, he found the flannel shirt, not even thinking about it, and bought it.
Yeah.
And now he has it. So he's wondering if he was seeing like a really demented like version of himself.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah.
One really stuck to me. I really like that one.
Tony's whole episode with us was insane.
Tony's life is scary.
She got whipped around. We had a guest on, the one that experienced the sleep paralysis with the scissors. She owns this house, and she got supposedly got whipped around the room.
Like attacked, thrown.
She was thrown into like objects in her room and stuff. And I'm like,
oh my God,
how do you do that? Like, how are you living like this?
Yeah. That's like, I mean, she still lives in that house?
No, she got rid of that, but she lived there for 10 years.
She lived there for 10 years, and she was experiencing stuff constantly. I'm like, girl.
She was kind of like she was trying her best, but the thing was, the room that all of that happened, and the room that she kept feeling all this dark stuff, was like in the path of the bathroom. So she would like talk about doing bird baths, or like going in there and like running out as fast as she could because she just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, she like the only access to like that bathroom, I guess, was through that bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
It was her whole story was insane. To live like that for so long, I was like,
oh my God, I couldn't even imagine that. And I've spoken to people of haunted houses, and it's funny to me, Blaine and Taylor, that I'm like, wait a minute, you've been living in this house? Oh, my grandpa lived in the house too, and my dad. It's like 3 generations have lived in this haunted house, and they're like, hey, deal with it. Like, what? You know, it's just mind blowing to me. But one of the guys told me, he goes, it's not what you think. He goes, first of all, it doesn't happen all the time. So he goes, we'll go months with nothing happening, like months. But they always said every time there was an electrical storm in the area, major thunderstorm, that's when the activity would shoot up, really shoot up. Or I've heard, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I heard this crazy story, and I've heard it like now 3 different times from 3 different people, where this married couple, they bought a house, and as soon as they went in the house, they started arguing. They started fighting, you know, getting vicious, getting to the point where they pull knives on each other. You know what I mean?
Holy
and then they leave, go out to dinner together, fine, loving, caring, no problem. Back into the house, same thing. And, you know, one of the stories was that one guy, he went to jail. One of the husbands, it was actually a brother-in-law of one of my guests. And what happened was his wife was sleeping. She wakes up, and there's her husband over her with a knife, standing over her with a knife while she was sleeping. Woke up, she freaks out, calls the cops. He gets arrested. He's actually still in jail now. And like, he can't remember doing that. He can't remember grabbing the knife. He can't remember anything. And when she talks to him, she goes, no, you know, that's something's that it's the house. It's something in the house. And she was convinced of that because, you know, she actually helped him get a lighter sentence and everything like that, and worked out some things. And now, you know, he's out of jail, I should say. And, you know, obviously they're not married anymore, but they're great. And this guy says, yeah, he's the nicest guy ever, and they do great. And you know, and I'm like,
the house, whatever was there.
Yeah. Have you ever heard anything like that? Have you ever heard where the house is physically, obviously with your friend there, but anything like that where it's just making people angry and, you know, the point of wanting to kill each other? I mean, that just blows me away.
Do you feel, we just had an episode drop at the time of recording this yesterday. We talked about Amityville. I don't think I believe the story of Amityville.
Yes.
But that sounds a lot like the story of Amityville.
So you're looking at the person.
Blamed the house.
I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. You're looking at the person who almost bought the Amityville horror house. I was in negotiations to buy it.
Dang.
The reason I didn't buy it, and I've told this story a million times, is because the real estate agent told me it is not haunted. It's never been haunted. They're lying. She knew she'd been doing real estate in the area for over 30 years. She has told me blatantly that the DeFeo family were a bunch of crazy lunatics who were on drugs to the mob. Everything was terrible about that family. That is true. They were horrible people. And yes, there were murders in that house. And yes, there were some things seen in that house. However, if you go back, and I didn't listen to this episode because I know it's just kind of just came out to listen to you guys' episode. What the real estate agent told me was people were made that up. That kind of came out that it was made up by the Lutzes and all this stuff. And it's total bullshit. And she knew that. Yeah, and she's saying like nothing's going to happen. She knew about all this stuff. And one of the things, I've talked to people and they're like, well, maybe she's lying to you. And I'm like, why would she lie to me? I made it blatantly think I will buy this house if it's haunted. I do not care. And she was like, well, bad news, sweetie. I wish I could. She actually passed away recently. I was trying to get her on the podcast. She didn't want to because she thinks ghosts are bullshit. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But the point was, I interviewed people who lived at that house. I talked to the past 3 owners of that house. And they went, nothing. And I like, look, I get it. If you guys feel weird about it, you don't want to tell me, please tell me. And they're like, zip, zero, nothing. So like most, what you guys have probably heard is most ghost entities, spirits, whatever you want to call them, usually attach themselves to a person or object. So therefore, if it was haunted, maybe it was attached to one of the Lutz's children, to an object in the house. I don't know. But I did go out and visit the house. I did go out and see it. It's gorgeous, by the way. Oh my God. At this time, this was years ago, it was going for a little over $300,000. Now, good luck. I think it's close to $1 million. Anyway, it's a beautiful house. I toured the house. I got nothing. Not to say I'm sensitive. I got nothing. The owners were sweet. And I'm like, so why are you selling it? Is it ghosts? Is it demons? And they were like, no, settle down. They were like, no, it's a big house. It's an absolutely huge house. And you need, man, I had 2 small kids at the time, my wife. You need someone to help you with the house. And what's super annoying, the people had 2 paranormal investigators try to break into the house, which scared the shit out of them. Also, they would wake up, like this time, the daughter woke up, and she's older now when I was there. And she said, I saw this guy just standing out on the lawn, and he's like talking to himself, just sitting there with a camera talking to himself. And she said at that time, she was like 6. She's just freaking out.
Talk about that?
Just freaking out. And so she said, that's what they hated. They still got to this day where people would knock on their door. Hey, I'll give you $100 if I could go and we could do an investigation overnight. And they were like, no, this is our house. Like, go
people
away,
need to, like, give more respect.
It's because that house is just so iconic now.
Yeah.
It like, because I went into the entire deep dive timeline on how DeFeo went to court, claimed with his lawyer, encouraged him to claim that the devil made him do it. He was apparently one of the first cases to do that. And then you have the same lawyer talking with the Lutz, trying to be like, you could make money off of this.
Correct.
Sell the rights, let them write the book, let them make the movie, make the money. And even George Lutz at one of the premieres of the movie, a reporter had asked him, is everything in this movie exactly how it happened? He's like, well, I mean, the movie's scary, don't get me wrong, but what we experienced was way worse. And like, that's the quote that people run with all the time. But he doesn't go into detail about how it was worse. Like, I understand, like, if something did happen,
correct,
it's going to leave you more traumatized than seeing a sensationalized version of it.
Correct.
But finding out that the lawyer of DeFeo is like telling him to do this.
Yes. And one thing I wanted to add too that I keep forgetting to add, the real estate agent had been alone in that house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's been alone in that house, and she's like, it's a big house with creaks and crap. And she told me point blank, I really don't believe, she's a very spiritual woman, but she doesn't really believe in ghosts. And I'm like, okay. But when I toured it, it was like, this is huge. Like, this is a damn big house. Yeah, now, I do have people tell me, John, you should have bought the house, charge like $5,000 to paranormal investigators to investigate it. And then when they don't get anything, or maybe they do get something, like, count the money. I'm like, yeah, I'm not that shady. I'm not going to do that. And besides, my kids and my wife were at the time like, it's upstate New York. They weren't too thrilled about
I have
going.
A question for you about that, though.
Yeah.
Since you were considering buying it, when you had those talks, did you consider putting the facade of the house back to the way it was with the windows? Now, because they're changed?
So here's the thing. What I was going to do was I was thinking about changing it back, just for the sole fact I'm a spooky, creepy guy. I like stuff like that, right?
I dig that.
I was told by numerous people, do not do that, who are mediums, empaths, psychic, whatever, as well as paranormal investigators, because they said you're tempting fate. They said you're and they said if there's something inside of you, like we talked about, if there's something inside of you that brings this back or brings something into the house that's completely different, you're kind of like, putting gasoline on a fire. So they were like, you better be careful. It's like you guys did a thing about Ouija boards. I always tell people about Ouija boards. Don't do them. Don't stop it. You think it's a joke. It's not a joke. You know what I mean?
Well. I don't think it's a joke, though. But I also think like Spirit Box is the exact same thing. And it's just a digital, or like it's radio instead of like in front of you. Like
3 words. Don't do it.
It's
yes.
3 words.
I get it.
No,
I get it.
Do it, Taylor.
Thank you.
I've already done it.
I know you have. I haven't.
Wrong. Yeah, I have a quick story with that too. That I want to tell you how that is a bad thing to do. Everyone, I don't know if it's you guys, like at your work, where people know you're into the paranormal and they'll come up to you and be like, "Hey, Taylor, hey, Blaine, I don't know, I think my house is haunted," right? And we can talk about that in a little bit. But I used to have people, like, I've made it known to people, hey, I'm a creepy guy. I love paranormal and spooky. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. So one day when I was a manager of this retail store, a young girl came up to me, one of my clerks, and she said, John, I think I have a really serious problem. And I'm like, oh no, because usually when girls came up to me, they would tell me they're pregnant, not from me, but they'd tell me they're pregnant. And I'd be like, why are you telling me? Go tell your parents, because it was a small town where I was, at this
Go tell
store.
your parents.
Yeah, well, it's a whole new thing, right? That's scarier than anything you could imagine. Having a 17-year-old girl come home, and I'm a dad have a daughter, and she came home and tell me that. I'd be like, ah! So she came to me and she said, "Hey, John, this is what happened. We were playing with a Ouija board in a cemetery." Classic, right? What they said was, while they were playing the Ouija board, they saw a shadow or a figure, and they all ran. They didn't close it. Okay, they just left it open. I said, okay, all right. So let's go back and close it after work tonight. Okay, and great. So I drive her back to the cemetery. We go in, and guess what? This is summertime, so the groundskeeper had mowed over the Ouija board, and it was totally destroyed, totally ripped to shreds by the lawn tractor. So I said, okay, well, I don't know what to do. I have no idea. So anyway, a couple weeks passed. I'm thinking, imagination. They were scared. It's one of those things. You see what, there's a whole bunch of theories out there that what people believe they think is a ghost is just something in their mind, and that's a whole different topic. Anyway, a couple weeks later, the mother comes, and I'm like, oh shit, the mother's going to be like, you idiots, you're my daughter, and, whatever. And she goes, no, that didn't happen. She goes, John, so my daughter tells me you're in the paranormal. You got to help us. We're seeing shadows, and we're being physically attacked at our house. And I'm like, okay, like, what's going on? And she's like, well, doors will slam. We'll see shadows. She goes, I've been pushed. My daughter's been pushed. We've had blankets ripped off of us. We've all this cold areas. And I'm like, she goes, I didn't really believe any of this paranormal stuff till this stuff happened. I said, okay, well, we're going to have to go back to the cemetery, buy a new Ouija board. But I said, before I do that, I have friends that I'm going to call. So I called one of my medium friends, and she said, hang on, stop. Let me go with you or you guys are going to make this worse. So she's a very nice lady and she came with us and we had to perform this whole ceremony, dealing with cleansing and all this stuff, and eventually closed everything and luckily had a happy ending and everybody's gone on to have a good life. But again, this medium, her name was Sarah, a very nice woman. She's since passed away, but she said to the mom and to my employee, don't ever play with your Ouija board. They're ridiculous. You're gonna something bad always happens unless you have somebody, a professional around you to do proper cleansing, proper closing of it. But she goes, don't even do that. She said it's bad. Something's gonna terrible happen. So that's just my public service announcement that I do every time about Ouija board.
At least I set myself like a level where I was like, I won't play with the Ouija board when I was pregnant. At least I set that ground or that rule.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that was the barrier that was like, no, I don't want to do it now.
Not when I'm growing a human.
Child.
Oh my goodness gracious! I know you said that, but I still laughed at the fact. I was like, I'm not going to do it while I'm pregnant. No shit.
So before we wrap up here, two things I want to ask you guys, kind of like a little fun little list here, just really a couple questions. One, your paranormal investigation bucket list. If you could go anywhere in the world and investigate any site, where would you go? You have an unlimited open checkbook. Where would you go?
I want to go to the catacombs in Paris.
Ooh, good one. Good one.
I feel like there should be a lot happening there.
Well,
there could be a lot.
They have sealed a lot of those areas off because of that one video. I don't know if you guys saw about that guy. I don't know if it's true, but a guy investigated it and then he drops the camera and you just see him running off and they totally never found the guy. You guys tell me.
I know they don't allow people in there at night. They're like, you will get arrested and this and that if you go past visiting hours.
And why would you like to do that, Taylor?
I think there's just like, I don't know, all the bones and all the skeletons. And I'm just like thinking if people, or if like spirits are stuck to the body in any way, there could be something there. And there's thousands of bodies down there. And I just think that would be insane and scary.
Yeah. All right, Blaine.
I was originally gonna say Alcatraz, just because of how secluded it is. I'm changing it now. I would love to investigate some of the spots of the Hellfires Club over in Ireland.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Because those stories of, like, them personally seeing the devil is so fascinating to me.
If I want to go to, like, America, like, US-wise, the Winchester.
The Winchester would be cool.
Winchester.
You got like those really big spots, like the very like I want to go to the Winchester. I want to go to Waverly Hills, Penhurst, stuff
if
like
that. If that one place wasn't torn down, I can't remember.
Yep, that
the
one
name.
place.
The bar.
The Bobby Mackey's.
Yes.
Bobby Mackey's, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of that's now in Las Vegas.
Yeah, with that Zach Baggins, whatever.
Fucking Zach.
Have you seen the one that we did about his haunted museum?
That was the next one I was going to listen to. I am not a fan. I'm going to tell you guys straight. So if that's okay, like that.
That episode
we
you'll
don't
love.
Really paint it in a very positive light.
No.
It's very opinionated, but it's also the fact of like, if we were to go, we'd probably check it out. Like, if we were to go to Las Vegas, that'd be the first spot we go to.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys fair warning. You're more than welcome to go, obviously. One of my guests have been to it, her and her husband. They were like, are you serious? Like, really?
I'm sure.
Money on this?
I'm sure.
A couple of things he has there is the staircase. You guys have to do an episode on this. Normally, I do not tell people you have to do something, but Indiana, that demon house in Indiana where Zach Baggins did the investigation and supposedly he went blind from the demon and one of his crew members was possessed by a demon. But there's stories from firemen, cops, EMTs, doctors,
CPS workers.
Yes, crazy stories about how all the thing this woman said was true. It's a movie on Netflix, and they called it something else. I have not watched it yet. But anyway, she was trying to make...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And it's... Anyway, so he has the staircase from that house. And so you go in there, and it's really cheesy. You know, they have voices like, this is the cauldron where Ed Gein decomposed all the bodies in. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So I was going to say the episode, since you said that was next, you have to watch it because it is me shitting on Zach in his museum. Like, I go down from like most believable to this is a fucking joke of items.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh. And I get into character.
It's a thing. If you listen to it on Spotify, or watch it on YouTube. If you listen to it on Apple, obviously you're not going to get the video feed. But we upload the video feed to Spotify and obviously our YouTube channel. Taylor dresses up like Zach.
But my name is Yak Saggins.
We called her Yak Saggins, and we made another TikTok on our while we were doing some downtime. It was very funny, and I struck it. It's so funny.
But yeah, we really shit on Zach Baggins and his museum and the items he has in there.
Yeah, we talk about the Dybbuk box and how that story's pretty fake.
Absolutely. Lugosi's mirror.
Bela Lugosi's mirror.
It is not a true thing, and it is ridiculous how he is just
sensationalizing it.
Yeah.
I just... You know, and I don't mind that he made money. You know, I get it. If you can make money off of something, God bless you. You know, fine. But don't make it like every paranormal investigator I've talked to, you guys are probably the same way. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is you don't go into a house and start screaming, "Hey man, come out. I'm not scared of you." Like, what? Like, what are you doing?
No, I don't think we've never started it off that way.
No.
Right?
I've gotten pretty heated in spots, but I've never started it.
Right, but yeah, I get it, but you're not like, I don't know, whatever the hell stupid stuff he does. It's unbelievable. Whatever. But anyway, thank you guys. This hour has flown by. You guys are amazing. Yeah. We didn't even get to the topic, so I'm going to have you guys back on. Because I was going to do a topic with you guys about a haunted location, very famous haunted location. So I'll have to have you guys back on. And
is this the secret one you were telling us before we started?
Yeah.
Is this the secret one you were going to tell us before we started?
Yeah, I'll keep it a secret. I'll have you guys back on.
We went too long. We jibba-jabbed.
Do jibba-jabby.
No, this is awesome. So what do you guys have coming up for my spooky friends? What can they look forward to?
Podcast wise, I don't know when you plan on releasing this.
About a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks? Okay, so by then we'll have had whatever podcast episodes we had banked up out.
Which are the 2.
Yep.
Game show podcast would probably be out.
That'll already be out, yeah.
Darn.
Because, we interviewed, obviously, I'm going to say at the time of recording this, we interviewed one of the writers for Haunted US, where they go around and they talk about... Yeah, we talked to one of them, and we talked about Anna Eklund's possession story.
And then the game show.
I love that one.
The game show that we were telling you about before we started, where I put my paranormal career on the line, and I definitely didn't do well. Spoiler. But other than that, we're pretty much focused
on the TV series or the streaming series. Yeah.
We got picked up by a new streaming platform called Dark Realm TV. You can find it on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Nice. And we're in the middle of producing a new 6-episode first season, and we're now wrapping up our fourth one right now. We're filming our 4th location.
Nice.
Right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then let me ask you this really quick for my spooky friends out there. If they wanted to get a hold of you, if maybe they know someone, and this is about a residence, and they think, something's going on, how would they get a hold of you? This is obviously, I imagine you guys don't travel outside of Wisconsin. Probably try to keep it close, right?
I mean, we've traveled to Illinois. Blaine's traveled to Minnesota. We've traveled to Indiana once.
But I mean, if people want to get a hold of us, I think the easiest way to do it is through our email. You can email us at ghostsandus@gmail.com.
Or hit us up on Instagram.
Any of our social media platforms. We're anywhere there's a social media platform, we're at Ghosts and Us. We keep it very simple. hit us up in the DMs.
We'll get the notification quick and we'll be like, oh my gosh, people.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think if you want to find us anywhere at Ghosts and Us, Ghosts is plural and is spelled out. So
there you go.
Yeah, our email is probably the easiest otherwise, but
okay, great. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. It's always, like I said, super fun, especially talking about, all these different things like, crazy story. And there's so many other stories. And that's what I tell my spooky friends. Don't be ashamed. Don't think we're going to think you're crazy. And just, it's good to get out of your system, right? It's good to tell somebody, like, I saw a ghost, when I was 8 years old, and it kind of freaked me out. And now I'm scared of, I don't know, horror movies, or I'm scared of this, or like in Taylor's case, her head spinning around, talking to a clown in her room.
What's so funny is like that, all of that and stuff. But when I was younger, I was terrified of The Exorcist. Reagan scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, scares that shit out of everybody.
But I could just sit there and talk to a clown.
Well, that's pretty damn scary, We're
supposed to John Wayne Gacy.
No.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us.
No, it's wonderful. Like I said, I'll have you guys back on. We'll have to talk about the secret haunted. Well, it ain't secret, but it's a nice haunted place that I think you guys should go and investigate one of these days. So,
heck yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Love you. And
thank you.
We'll talk later.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay spooky.